Okay, I'm going to be discussing self-determination and empowerment are equivalent in social work practice. I started with the article we received in class, the What Happened to Self-Determination by Alison Murdoch. So she kind of frames it as the exploration of self-determination and empowerment through being able to really see the challenges in your community, being able to be empowered to make that difference and to actually identify the needs that you need. So with that in mind, I found two articles. The first one I'll be discussing is Self-Determination and Paternalism in Community Care Practice and Prospects, which is an article written in 98 by Chris Clark. It is an article from Britain. So he assessed principles and beliefs of social workers in local authority. So in 1990 in Britain, they passed the Community Care Act, which forced local authorities to provide assessments to any adults in need. So these are individuals with mental health disorders or physical disabilities, and they had social workers go out to them and complete the assessments, offer them services. And he met with 15 practitioners and 4 managers, case managers, in order to talk to them about their opinions and their thoughts regarding this new act. And what he did is he allowed them to have very open-ended questions. He did not direct them into talking about self-determination or empowerment. He just allowed them to kind of bring it up on their own using very, very few prompting words. And what he found was that self-determination ranked as one of the top things that these social workers still valued within their field. They talked about how, yes, though these individuals that they were serving could not make all the decisions for themselves because it would put them at risk, they were able to make decisions that even the most minor decisions in order to allow them to have an air of respect, to feel like they were part of their treatment plans, to make them feel just appreciated and actually listened to. So they would accommodate minor preferences and they really tried to understand what their true desires were. So for instance, if a patient wanted to return home instead of staying in a care facility, they had to take that in mind. Yes, they didn't act on that self-determination, or they didn't allow the client to act on self-determination, but they were able to really have that understanding of what they wanted and then look into how that affected their behavior. So they still saw self-determination as a key factor, even in populations that just could not focus on the self-determination. They also linked it to empowerment. He said not all cases did they link it to empowerment, but some did. And for empowerment, they said that it allowed them to provide them with the respect to make choices. So for them, as social workers, they saw, well, I'm going to empower my clients so that they can make decisions. They can tell me if they don't want to do part of the services. Because if they deny services, then guess what? The government will have to turn around and make better services that they're not going to deny. They also allow for the empowerment to allow clients to question their own decisions. They want clients to be active in their treatment planning, which involves questioning even the practitioners and even questioning what their desires are, what their needs are, in order to formulate a better treatment plan and set better goals. The next article is Individual Empowerment, How Community Health Workers Operationalize Self-Determination, Self-Sufficiency, Decision-Making Abilities of Low-Income Mothers. This is by Julie Becker, Adria Kovic, and Dickie Grostich. It's a 04 article. And so what they did is in Philadelphia, they had a program called Mom Mobile. And Mom Mobile went door to door to help provide services for pregnant women who just would not receive the services otherwise. And they interviewed these advocates for the program. They talked to them about being an advocate. They talked to them about how they define self-determination, self-sufficiency, and decision-making. They talked to them about when do you know to close a case? All these important questions. And they've put all these answers into a database, and the database pulled out the most consistent answers. And so they ended up getting a definition of empowerment and self-determination. They stated that empowerment is setting goals, gathering information, defining needs, and making and implementing decisions. And they said that self-determination is realizing when an individual sets goals, follows through, and achieves a goal, encompassing aspects of ambition, drive, and perception of future. So they're tied together. They are so equal to each other because you have to have that empowerment piece first. You have to empower your client to be able to see what their needs are, and then have the ability to vocalize how to go forth on how to fulfill those needs through setting goals, through being active in a treatment plan. And that has to start with the empowerment piece. Once they're empowered, that self-determination kicks in a lot easier, because now they know that, hey, I can set this goal and I can work to achieve this goal. Again, when we're looking at the article that we talked about, that we got in class, it says the same thing. We're liberating our clients. We're giving them the ability to see what issues they're facing, and then allowing that self-determination piece to come in to allow them to work on mending those issues, or at least getting themselves exactly where they need to be in order to help free themselves from the community around them. And so I think that's something that makes social work so different, is because we are providing interventions right as where the community and the individual meet. And we talk about this all the time in all these social work classes, but that's ultimately what we're doing. We have to provide empowerment for them to even recognize the injustices around them. We have to provide empowerment to show them that, okay, you recognize these injustices, now what are we going to do about it? And then allow the self-determination piece to kick in, because now they've understood that they can actually make a difference. They don't just have to sit in that misery that they've been feeling, or they don't have to sit in those uncomfortable situations, because now they have the piece of empowerment and the knowledge, and then through the social worker having those tools to actually being able to assess those things. And that's so different. If you look at medical professionals, or you look at law enforcement, for instance, they formulate a more paternalistic view because they have to. They tend to see that there's certain rights that the client has, and if they go against those decisions that are made by doctors, nurses, probation officers, that there's going to be consequences to it. You know, if self-determination is enacted, a lot of times, as far as in nursing or in medical practice, it's considered an AMA. It's considered going against your treatment options. Likewise, you're going to have consequences for probation. But in social work practice, that allowance of self-determination and empowerment is only a tool that helps us restructure our communities and fight the injustices around us. That's all I got.